Hello everyone, welcome to the Evil Empire. I'm your host, Evil Empire, and this week on the feature, Chawnky Red. This is a big red deck along the lines of the big red decks that Todd Anderson pioneered in the Pioneer format, forgive the pun. And it's something that is a little bit different from your normal mono red, so let's go over some of the parts that we found here on this deck from Twitter user at BigTake10. This particular deck is running a ramp combo with Cleansing Wildfire and Cascading Cataracts. So you cast your Cleansing Wildfire usually to target the Cataracts. Certainly you can use Wildfire on your opponent's lands, especially if you suspect that they're not running very many basic lands. But the main idea is to target your own land, specifically Cascading Cataract, because it's indestructible and it won't get blown up when you target it with Cleansing Wildfire. You'll just get to basically Rampant Growth and then draw a card as well. So it's like a rampant growth with a cantrip if you can draw the two together. So kind of crazy, right? Like that would be a busted card if it were a card. But we don't often get that. It doesn't happen every game. Just when it does, it's a really good ramp. We also have Mind Stone and Solemn Simulacrum. That's the sort of core ramp of the deck. And then technically, and it has helped me out before, Chandra Torch of Defiance is also another ramp card in the deck. So if we're on 6 mana and we just are really in need of that last 2 and we have a Chandra on the board, we can plus Chandra to get ourselves into Ugin territory. And that's sort of the main thing that we want to be able to do in this deck, is just get to big mana, get to casting big spells, hopefully get to cast an Ulamog before our opponent can be really ready for it or whatever. Not that you can ever really be ready for a 10-10 indestructible. But the fact that Ulamog has a cast trigger as well makes it super important, because that way, even if it gets countered against like control or something, you're still getting that value of exile 2 target permanents that the opponent controls. So, well, it doesn't say the opponent controls part, but like you're going to choose opponent permanents. The thing that I added to the version that I found, so I messed up the mana base a little bit. Still sticking with the 3 Faceless Haven. I think that's a great way to close the game, but I've thrown in a Field of Ruin and a Blast Zone. That is mostly because I think there are some really good targets for it in Historic. Like Blast Zone can really mess up the mono blue deck. Field of Ruin can get, like, let's say a Castle Lochthwain or another problematic land that your opponent has. And then we're also running Karn the Great Creator in this deck as a 3-of. And in our Karn board we have Crucible of Worlds. So it hasn't happened for me yet, and I think I've only rarely been able to get the combo going, but you can, in theory, get sort of multiple uses out of your Field of Ruin, multiple uses out of your Blast Zone as you're sacking it and bringing it back to the battlefield. For that matter, if your Faceless Haven ends up in the yard, you could play that out of the yard with Crucible. So I thought Crucible was a good add to the Karn board. Other pieces of the deck that are important, Glorybringer was my addition as well. The original version that I got from BigTake10 had a pair of Goldspan Dragon in the sideboard for ramp. I decided to go with Glorybringer. I think in Best of 1, the ability to deal 4 damage to a non-dragon was pretty big. And one weird interaction that you might want to keep in mind, since there are a couple of shapeshifter creatures now in the format, like I'm thinking especially of Realmwalker, watch out, because Glorybringer does not hit a Realmwalker because of it being a changeling and having shapeshifter. Glorybringer just can't touch it. So other big important things in the deck, Bone Crusher for removal, get you a threat later. It's one of the best cards in the whole Historic format. You see it everywhere, right? Valakut Awakening, I cut by 1 because I wasn't really feeling it. You don't end up with a ton of junk in hand, although sometimes you do want to use it to like wheel away some of your bigger stuff. So that Valakut Awakening is a great card in the deck, just down to a 3-of. And then Anger of the Gods, I cut 1 of them and added a Sweltering Suns instead, so I could cycle it away against control. Again, trying to get a little bit more flexible against all different manner of opponents, because we're going to try to play this in Best of 1, which is kind of crazy, I admit it. But I actually have played Mirrors, and I know that people are playing this deck, so something that you might want to consider. It is going to be a fringy one, probably tier 3 at best, but it is one that people enjoy. And I think there are some things to be said for it. At least, you know, if you can, another really fun plan in the deck is to get Golos down. Use Golos to grab whatever you want, obviously, but sometimes you'll grab a Cascading Cataract, so you can just start flipping stuff off the top with Golos and casting it for no cost. That's another really fun thing to do in the deck. I've pulled that off a couple times, and it's super sweet. The biggest thing I would say overall is that I think reason for adding Karn, especially for me, was I'm seeing a lot of sacrifice decks on the ladder. I'm seeing a lot of Cat Oven on the ladder, and Karn can really control the sacrifice decks. And switching off the oven, kind of a huge deal. Karn can also plus, using the plus ability on the opponent's food token, will turn it into a 0/0 creature and it'll die immediately. So it can get rid of opponent food that might be laying around, although that's really specific to that archetype. Sacrifice has definitely been seeing a resurgence with the banning of Uro. And another deck that's seeing a resurgence in Best of One, where Karn is also a pretty good one, is against Azorius control. So it can shut off Teferi by going to grab a Sorceress Spyglass. I keep 2 Sorceress Spyglass because there's usually a need for a second one a lot of times. The rest of the Karn board is fairly straightforward. We have a Chroma's Memorial as the top end. Our 6-drops are Godfarer's Gift and Embercleave. Sky Sovereign, again, comes in really huge against smaller creature decks. You can blow up like a Mayhem Devil or something like that. Solemn and Golos are the ramp cards. Crucible to get lands out of the graveyard. Chaos Wand was supposed to be for Tybalt's Trickery decks, and maybe like you hit one of their Genesis Ultimatum or something, but I haven't seen Tybalt's Trickery around a lot in the last couple days. I think people finally got tired of losing a lot with that deck. Though I know Alejandro played it. Alejandro played it for, I think he said like 200 matches. I'm not sure if that was best of 1 or best of 3, but he played a lot of that deck the last 2 weeks and really tuned it up. And was saying that he only won at like a 50% clip, according to his data. So I guess the deck just didn't really have the high win percentage, although it was like a quick one for people to play on ladder. It wasn't really putting up very good results, and it certainly never made the cut to tournaments. So maybe Chaos Wand is one I should probably cut from this, because there's not a ton of really great instants and sorceries that we want to hit outside of that Tybalt's Trickery deck. The double Spyglass I talked about. Heart of Kirin has been super useful in this deck because we often have a Planeswalker lying around. I have yet to fetch Chandra's Regulator or Shadow Spear. Bomat, I think, is questionable as well, but at least it's a 1-mana play that you can make. Obviously, Grafdigger's Cage for everything in the format still. He turns off Lurrus, turns off Kroxa. Nobody cares about Uro anymore. Obviously, it's banned, but will continue to be a main deckable card in the format for the foreseeable future. So that is Chawnky Red. Let's see how we did on the ladder. Alright, so opening hand, I'm not sure I can keep it because it doesn't have enough red mana to cast Chandra Torch. It has the 2 sources that only produce colorless. So, yeah, okay, this definitely has enough mana to cast Glorybringer. We have the 2 red pips handled here, so once you have the 2 red pips, you're pretty much good to go. Keeping a hand without that can be risky. So just take the high upside of having 3 snow-covered mountains. So opponent looks to be some kind of Bant deck, like maybe a Bant Company, Bant Control maybe. So we'll play Mindstone. They're going to go Hinterland Harbor, Essica, God of the Tree. Okay, was not expecting that. Solemn. Just get our ramp on. Get set up. So Essica, they untap with it. They now have the Cascading Cataracts, but they're 1 short of activating it. Okay, so opponent goes for Karn. It's funny, I have a couple of those in my hand too. It's your fine choice of card, opponent. Fine choice of card. Okay, so this now, Mox Amber will tap for green. We can't tap our Mind Stone, but we do have the mana to do this. How about a 2-for-1? How about a 2-for-1, opponent? So yeah, we'll take down Essica with the 4 damage. We'll take down Karn with the attack. Take out 2 of their permanents. Develop our board a little bit. So opponent now can't use the Mox Amber, excuse me. A second Cascading Cataracts, okay. And Teferi, okay. Wow, it's tough. I think we can Karn for the Spyglass to shut it off. And that should be fine. So attack it down. And Karn is going to go grab the spyglass so I can shut it off. Well, it's tempting to name Golos in case we lose our Karn at some point, which we probably will. But let's just go Teferi, go the safe route. Shut that off. And they currently can't tap their Mox Amber either, so they're really only on 5 until, okay, now 6. Wrath the board away. We get to draw a card. Alright, I'll draw a card. I don't mind that. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good draw. I like a little hasty dragon. Especially when the opponent doesn't seem to have counter magic in their deck. Yeah, that just resolves effortlessly. So, question, what do we do with Karn now? Okay, probably shouldn't. Alright, yeah, I messed up there. I shouldn't have exerted that. I forgot that it doesn't deal damage to planeswalkers, only creatures. I was going to try to pick off the Teferi. That was silly. Alright, let's try to recover here. What can I pick up out of the sideboard? What can I get here that's going to get my ramp on with Golos, maybe? Second Spyglass, take a look at their hand. And then just go Golos in case I lose the Karn. Don't want them flipping cards off the top with Golos. Just have a feeling I might lose this Karn at some point. Even though I do have the second one. Alright, so what land are they going to go for here? Castle Ardenvale, going to scry your way to victory, opponent. The Cage comes down. Well, I don't have anything that cares about the graveyard, so seems fine. Cage seems totally fine. Definitely paying the price. I'm being hard punished for my mistake with exerting the Glorybringer, thinking that it could deal damage to planeswalkers when it definitely can't. Alright, so plus Karn on nothing, basically for no reason. And then I play second Karn, minus the Karn, go to the Karn board. What kind of Karn board material can we get here? The Cleave? Do you cleave put a Cleave on the dragon, maybe? 2 to the opponent. It doesn't get rid of Teferi anyway, which we can do next turn and just attack it down if we want. Alright, opponent gains 6. Attacks Golos to... Or sorry, Golos attacks Karn. Yeah. Yeah. Sure he will, bud. That's a good draw. Yeah, so Chandra, we're going to hope that Chandra can ramp us into Ulamog before our opponent gets the lands to play Ulamog. Definitely feeling pretty happy that I named Golos with that second Spyglass, because even though now I can't activate my Golos, at least... No, she doesn't hit planeswalkers either. Gee. Tough luck. So we'll hope that Chandra ramps to Ulamog next turn. And just basically hanging on by a thread. Yeah, we don't want them activating Mox Amber at all. So now they don't have Planeswalker, so they can't do it. And then this will block. Keep Chandra nice and healthy. High loyalty Chandra, that's what we like. Alright, so make a bunch of 1/1s, gain a bunch of life. Never seen anybody main decking Timely Reinforcements, so that's a new thing for me. Not seen that yet. Ramp, drew the land, so that was exactly the card that we needed, was untapped land. Get rid of Golos, get rid of Castle. Take them down to 6 lands. Yeah, that'll do it. Take that down. Yeah, this is good. Want the sweeper. Best of 1 is so many aggro decks. You want the sweeper. I mean, look, sweeper's a bad card. It's especially a damage-based sweeper. It's a bad card. Sweltering Suns is only good because you can cycle it. And Anger of the Gods is only good because it exiles everything, which you need against a lot of decks. A lot of decks run Agadeem's Awakening like Rogues, or... what else runs Agadeem's? Like Rakdos, I guess. I've even seen some Rakdos builds with Call of the Death Dweller, so... you definitely want the exile ability. That's why I'm going splitting it 2 Anger of the Gods and 1 Sweltering Suns. So at least you can cycle one of them away. Alright, so mono green, yeah. This deck has really benefited from Kaldheim. Now, it seems like War Master and the Changeling, Realm Walker, or whatever it's called, those are both going to be staples, apparently. Alright, well, at least they didn't have the fast mana start. So I can ramp a little. I have a minute. We'll do this little ramp combo. Okay, so this is now a 2 mana Rampant Growth. Well, I mean, obviously Rampant Growth is 2 mana, but like, it is now a Rampant Growth that also cantrips. So that's value. Hashtag value. Behold the value opponent. Yeah, so here's Realm Walker, another now staple of this deck. We're good so far. Can kill everything that they've played. Yep, not a problem, because once the Lords die, the Realm Walker gets back to 3 power and also, or 3 toughness and also dies. So go ahead and clear off the board, sweep it away. Yeah, 3 damage, very crucial there. 2 damage sweeper does not do it. And the next Realm Walker. Okay, I can tell that's going to be a problem because I don't have ready removal for it. Yeah, I'm going to need to draw something. Okay, so Visionary, draw a card. Boy, that really feels bad. 1 toughness point separates this Bone Crusher from being good. Well, card advantage city for the opponent now. I'm going to have to just basically Valakut and look for Ugin. So it's just desperation time at this point. Yeah, take care of the Archdruid so we don't get pounded quite so hard this turn. Maybe even deter them from attacking. With any luck. Oh, okay. Didn't even need to. I think I just forgot to play Valakut Awakening, but just drew the Ugin like a boss. Attacking with Bone Crusher because I'm going to lose it. To the Ugin minus. Play Ugin, win the game. Feels good, man. Opponent recognizing that the game is over, concedes. And that's tier 1. 1 rank away. Yeah, keepable. I mean, it has double red, so that's all you ever need in this deck. Luris across the way. Blue mana, so it could be auras. Fairy Miscreant. Rogues, maybe? Alright, well, if it's Rogues, we've got a little spot removal to start with, and probably never going to resolve Ugin, but there's just too much counter magic to fight through for an 8 mana Planeswalker to resolve. Oh boy. The dream opening for them. They must have drawn it off the top. Let's get rid of that. Can't have it. Oh boy, we wanted that other Bone Crusher. Man. Two mana. 3 mana. From the opponent. Thoughtseize. Target me. Take away the Bone Crusher. Too good. Card is too good. And they're going to leave their counterspell up. I'm going to go Cataract's Mindstone, get to Rampin'. Mindstone resolves. Keep their powder dry. Keep those counterspells fresh and clean. Okay, so Watery Grave tapped. 3 mana available this turn. By Luris. Alright, well that gives me a window to resolve Glorybringer, and I'm going to do that. That seems like a good thing to resolve here. Just attack, no exert. We'll leave the threat of it up for next turn. They've got to have kill spell here. Okay, no kill spell from the opponent. So just exert on attack and kill Luris. Just onboard trickery here. Yep, get rid of this. This is a pain. I'll not have it. And then probably play out the Bone Crusher, or maybe just leave out Valakut Awakening. Could also ramp with Solemn. I mean, there's choices here. Yeah, just use the most of the mana. The 3 mana play is, while fine, I'm only going to be drawing 2 off Valakut, and Bone Crusher feels kind of bad because it doesn't block anything that the opponent has except for the Thieves Guild. Lofty on Solemn kind of hurts. We need that. We need to get up to higher mana than what we have now. What I have now is not adequate. Oh boy. They just top decked that. Man. Feels good, opponent. Feels good to have it all. And the Wind Robber. Alright, we're going to have to go for Anger, but it feels pretty bad. And I can't do Cleansing Wildfire as well because I never drew a second mountain, or a third mountain rather. I guess you do need 3 sometimes. If you want a Cleansing Wildfire here, I need 3. Drown the Lock on Anger. Alright, that's a problem. But we did at least get them to spend their last counter, their best counterspell. Now, next turn I get to untap the Glorybringer and exert it, killing the fairy. And this turn I will have the 3 red. Okay, Drown the Lock kills. They had a second. Kills the Glorybringer, and they play out the Merfolk Wind Robber. Faceless Haven, 1 mana short. I mean, we'll get it for next turn, but it might be too late at that point. Alright, well, Chandra's good. Chandra's going to kill the fairy. So we'll take that. Just get rid of the card advantage. Okay, opponent. What'd you top deck? Yeah, that's not that good here. Alright, Chandra bites it. Mill a card, mill an Ugin. Okay, so Ugin minus. They're gonna Merfolk Wind Robber in response. Do that twice so they can get those back later. They must have some kind of recursion like Agadeem's or Call the Death Dweller. In that case, we're just going to plus on the Ugin. Play out the Cataract. Cataract's confirmed, and then Thought Thief. Oh boy. Oh dear. That's not going to feel good. Oh, come on. That is one huge top deck right there for the opponent. Alright, anger away your Thought Thief. Come on, no Drown in the Lock, no Drown in the Lock. Oh, come on. Boy, Rogue's really living up to its reputation of being annoying. 3 in their top half of their deck. 3 draw on the lock in the top half. And they top deck another Curious Obsession. So we're just going to kind of spitefully blow up their Watery Grave. It's not going to do anything. Rogues, even more annoying in Historic because they get Curious Obsession. They get Unas. But mostly they're just annoying because Thought Thief is such a good card. Yep, and what did they draw off the Curious Obsession? Feels like some kind of recursion. Feels like maybe a call. Call the Death Dweller. Yeah, they're in their graveyard. It is. It's either Agadeems or Call. Opponent taking forever to figure out what cards are coming back from the yard. It's Lurrus. I mean, I could figure it out for you. It's Lurrus. Okay, so they can only get... It was Agadeems. It wasn't Call of the Death Dweller, so they couldn't get Lurrus. They just had to get those two. Yeah, what a terrible bargain. And then we just, yeah, just total brick. Total brick. Yeah, and then we get to draw 2 here, but it's not going to do anything because it doesn't matter. 1 short of playing the Glorybringer. I'm not sure Glorybringer would really help here, but it would at least get rid of Thought Thief. So annoying. Die, rogues, die. Doesn't matter. They have lethal even if they choose to block here. So, that'll be game. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a keep. The Sweeper, the Bone Crusher, those are good. Keep it on the back of those, too. Whether we get to Golos or Ugin, we'll see, but Bone Crusher and Sweltering Suns are good. So let's just make them be good. Okay, Blast Zone. Opponent on Island. Another island, so yep, mono blue. My oldest and most hated nemesis, mono blue. We're gonna play around Spell Pierce here. Always want to act on their turn. If they're going to counterspell you, make them do it on your turn, on their turn. Really want you to use your mana on your own turn, opponent. Yeah, they had it. Okay, so at least we got them to use it on their own turn, if they were going to use it. And we know, and actually a couple ways here to destroy the Pteramander, because Blast Zone, on the single counter that it gets on coming in, will destroy that 1-drop. That's not counterable. Not by any of the counter spells that they run. Because they don't run Tail's End. Okay, so Curiosity will also die to Blast Zone. No need to even use Sweltering Suns on the Pteramander. We'll just save it for later. If I have a way to kill it with Blast Zone, I'm just going to kill it with Blast Zone. But the thing is, I don't want to do it on my own turn. Because they might flash something in. So, might feel good to like go and get that Pteramander, that Curiosity, but let's see if they have something here that maybe like a... What's that Pirate Spirit guy? Show him to me. Come on. Spectral Sailor. That was the one. Come on. Alright. Opponent's not going to play into it, obviously. You never know. During combat, let's get it. No need to let them draw extra cards. What's the play? Really? So they can play around it. Well, that's acceptable. I can accept this. Alright, so 5 mana. Golos. We'll start with Solemn. Get Solemn countered. No way they let this resolve. Oh, really? I am wrong. Get our ramp on. Get my ramp on. Get my ramp on. Opponent says, attack you for 1. I take 1. Down to 17. Second Ugin. Okay, this time Golos. This time no way. Can't let Golos resolve. Come on. Yeah, didn't think so. I didn't have untapped land, so it was going to get me regardless. So, make that land drop. That puts me to 7, so 1 away from Ugin. Opponent's getting to a point where they can activate the ability of Terramander and make it a 5/5 with Adapt. Let's see how close they are in a minute here. Check their graveyard. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So they have to have 5 mana, so they could activate it this turn, which means Sweltering Suns is no good. Didn't draw the land for Ugin. Tough luck. Don't think Ugin would have resolved anyway, so in a bit of a spot here. Gonna have to try to make them activate it, and then once they activate it, I can get it with Bone Crusher. But they have to do it EOT here for me to get them. So are they going? They're thinking about it. Are they gonna let me? Come on, let me do it. You activate, I get you. Come on, do it. You can do it. It's safe. Everything's safe and happy. Everything's safe and happy. Just do it. Just do it. Borrower. Ugh, Borrower's so stupid. Okay, now I can take care of the Terramander because they don't have the mana up to adapt it. I'll happily take 3 in the air as opposed to 5 in the air. Unsummon their own creature a second time. Same creature. Bone Crusher does not resolve. Brazen Borrower resolves. Terramander doesn't have flash, so no luck there for the opponent. Curious Obsession. Feels bad. Yeah, Brazen Borrower wears the Curious Obsession very well. So, draw card off the Curious Obsession. Play out the Mander. Really? Huh. Isn't that something? What to do, what to do. Let's do this. Draw a card. This will be a little check to see if they want to counter it, because, I mean, it doesn't, obviously doesn't matter if they do. Because at some point, they're going to run out of counters. I'm just going to resolve Ugin. I think I can probably do that in the next 3 turns. But alright, so that resolves. That's good. Didn't like taking 4 in the air. Probably resolve Karn over the Valakut Awakening. Be the most mana efficient I can be. Oh, so it was that I had the exact mana to pay for the Lofty Denial. That feels good. Alright, so play out the mana for Ugin. Feels good. Because Ugin can just -1 and get rid of Terramander regardless. Oh, good. Okay, so I'm going to get their last 2 creatures with Ugin. Yeah, they just ran out of counterspells. Just didn't have enough for everything that I had. Sorry, Mono Blue. Sometimes you lose. True statement of fact. Are we going to see the goo? You going to make the goo happen? No, you're just going to... Okay. Fair enough. I mean, it was kind of pointless to adapt it. But you did technically have the ability to do that. First notch in Diamond Tier 1. So we're back with Chawnky Red. And the deck pulled a pretty good set of games on the ladder. At one point, I think I was 5-3. Now, I did come back to Earth, and I don't really think this deck is going to have the legs long term, but it is something to keep in mind, and it might be something that comes up again later. One or two really good prints, either an artifact or sort of a big red card, maybe, you know, something along the lines of, you know, another Goldspan Dragon or something like that, might end up putting this a little bit over the top in Historic. Certainly any deck that can run Ulamog and Ugin the Spirit Dragon as well as a ramp package is going to have a chance. But, you know, a mono red control deck is a little bit of a weird thing, and it's going to take some tuning. I don't think this is the best version of it that I've made here, but you will probably see this, you know, 1 in 20 games, 1 in 50 games, if you're playing on the ladder. So something to keep in mind, and one that was certainly a lot of fun to pilot. You know, just anytime you get to cast Ugin or Ulamog against a deck where it really is, you know, it's going to seal the deal for you, like against an Elves deck or something, it can be a really fun experience for you, a really sad experience for the opponent, but such is Magic the Gathering these days. Seems to be built mostly for the winners metagame, if you will. So please take the deck, tune it, do whatever you think needs to be done to get this into fighting shape. My addition of Karn, I think, was helpful against the sacrifice matchups, but did feel pretty bad against aggro overall. So I would say it probably could be fixed up a little more, and maybe running a few more Sweltering Suns so you can cycle that away. Some other changes that people will certainly think about and make with the deck, but big response. People have really loved the deck. I was blown away by the fact that I even saw people, and I was playing against them in the mirror playing this deck. So fun times. I hope you enjoy it. And this is Evil Empire signing out.